Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sets the tone, doesn't it, beautifully for this morning. I'm blessed to have gotten to hear it twice from the first service. Oh, let me take a look around. It's been a while since I've seen some of you.
Hi, Donna.
Hi, Pam. Pam and I go way back, actually. We knew each other even before Seal Beach, and it's kind of fun for Keith and her and I to reconnect. Before I worked for Haven, I worked for another nonprofit called Pathways. It's where I got my grief training, and I'm very, very grateful to Pathways. And Pam and I met each other at Pathways. So she did special events, and so we got to work together back then. So it's kind of fun to have her here as well. All my worlds sometimes come together. Doesn't it feel that way to you? Sometimes it's kind of fun, huh? I wanted to share a little bit about Tina's song when she was talking about the lighthouse. Many of us, and the title today is The Miracle of Light, and light is powerful. A lighthouse's job is to keep sailors safe. The lighthouse in the storming, raging seas guides the sailors through the rocks and through all the waves and the water and everything else. And sometimes our world can feel like we're in that storm, whatever's happening to us. And a lighthouse is the steady anchor. And for some of us, that's the divine. For me, sometimes it's a good friend or my practitioner who I have on speed dial, and I call her when I need prayer or to be reminded of the truth. And on some days, she gets 2 or 3 calls from me. And then we might go weeks, but it's pretty often that I call out to my practitioner to help guide and center and anchor me. But the truth is, the lighthouse is the light within each and every one of us. It's the divine having its way through and as each and every one of us. And I think when I think about the miracle of light, I think about how are we expressing our light? Because that's the gift we've been given, is our light. We can choose to hide it. We can choose to run from it, we can choose to ignore it, or we can choose to step into it. And I find it interesting that when you look out in nature, we're heading into the darkest time of the year. The sun goes down much earlier, and yet it's the hustle and bustle of the time where we're all kind of busy with our to-do lists and our events and this and that going on. But it's almost like nature's telling us to slow down and turn within, but we're hustling and bustling, and we're in the season of light with Hanukkah, with Christmas, with Kwanzaa, winter solstice. They're all talking about light, reminding us of the truth of who we are, even in the darkness. And this time of year can be difficult for some of us too, because the people we care and love about may not be with us for whatever reason. My family was here for Thanksgiving from El Paso, and it was quite fun. Now they left yesterday, and my parents leave at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for Israel. They'll be gone for 2 weeks. And what an amazing time of year to be in Israel. And what we didn't know, and I might have shared this before, so bear with me, but many years ago, we found out my dad was Jewish, Hungarian Jew. He was born and raised in Hungary and defected in 1956. And his mom was sent to live with a Catholic family during the Holocaust. So she never talked about her faith roots. So my dad never knew, because he left home at 13. And over the years, when he was able to reconnect with family, they shared with him that information. And so I have a feeling Hanukkah means something a little different now in my family, knowing my background. And I'm grateful I have a Jewish chaplain friend, and we study Torah together once in a while when our schedules align. So he's teaching me a little bit about the Torah. So it's kind of fun to have that opportunity to share the different faith traditions, because what we teach here is inclusivity. We teach oneness. We teach the truth of who we are as the light. And are we answering that call? The definition of a miracle, according to dictionary.com, says it's an amazing or wonderful occurrence. The miracle of light is we are that amazing occurrence. We are the expression of spirit in form. That's why we're here. Metaphysics teaches us that we are the light, that there's a power greater than us, and it expresses in, through, and as us if we answer the call. I don't know if any of you have seen the new Frozen movie yet. cried my way through it. I saw it on Friday with my nieces and nephew and my family, and I am a huge Frozen fan. It is my favorite Disney film, and for a lot of reasons. And one of them is for me, it's got a message of stepping into your power, stepping into the truth of who you are. And Frozen 2 is very similar. You'll probably see some of it in my writings, but there's two quotes from that I wanted to share. One is what Elsa says in the film. She says, "Fear can't be trusted." And she's coming into her own in that particular moment in the film. So I'm not going to give it away. I'm hoping you see the film. But she reminds me that fear isn't to be trusted, and yet I sometimes put most of my trust in fear. Fear to say yes, to step into something greater yet to be. There's a line in one of the songs that says, "Show yourself and step into your power." And I think sometimes I'd rather put my light under a bushel, hide it under a basket, than step out into the light and be who I am. Because sometimes I say things like, "What does pastor mean? What kind of meat?" I don't want to be embarrassed. But if I learn to laugh about myself and say, "Okay, I learned something new. I stretched, I grew." And I think the season of light is about that. It's stepping into our power, even in the midst of the darkness. To step into a greater yet to be as to who we are. Because the truth is, we're all amazing beings of light. We all are here for a gift. We're all here to love one another. While I was in Fountain Valley for the last 9 months, I felt your love with me in Fountain Valley, and I bring their love here. Because we're connected on a heart level. When we are preparing to say goodbye to one thing to step into something new, we might have a variety of feelings. Dr. Michelle Medrano posted on Facebook yesterday, she's the co-senior minister at Mile High, there's 42 days left in 2019. What are you going to let go of to not bring it with you into 2020? Is it a relationship? Is it a belief system? Is it something else? And then after the first service, someone reminded me that we're actually stepping into a new decade, which I had forgotten. And yes, I did post my 2010 and my 2019 picture of myself on Facebook. I followed that little quiz, and I completely forgot we're stepping into a new decade. I'm stepping into a new decade because on January 11th, I turned 50. And I can't wait. Of course, I wish the computer would stop giving me a countdown every day. So I learned how to turn that off. But the truth is, what is it that we want to step into? What are we going to spend the next 30 days, 31 days of this year stepping into that truth? There's a quote by Edith Wharton. It says, "There are two ways of spreading the light, to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it." As many of you know, I also work for hospice, and in one of the hats I wear is I'm the volunteer coordinator. So in addition to being one of the chaplains and the bereavement coordinator, in every newsletter that I send out to our volunteers, I include this quote because I want to remind them that they are spreading the light by who they are. They're showing up in service. They're reflecting a light back to families that might be struggling. And yet they show up and say yes because they want to be there. That's a gift. We're all showing up to life in our own way. And sometimes when we're not able to spread the light, it's being reflected back to us by those who love us, for those who support us. I could probably say something about every person here who supported me on my journey in one way or another. So even in my darkest moments, I've had people, you, reflecting your light back to me. I was meeting with a family yesterday, and the wife's name is Joy, and her husband has dementia. And she was laughing, and she was doing everything she could to enjoy herself. And I said, "You're living up to your name." And she said, "Yeah. It's not an easy time, but I'm finding ways to laugh." And her son is studying to be a coach. You'd think he was a member of the Science of Mind Church, because what I heard from him was, our thoughts create our experience. I could be sad about what's happening to my dad, but if this wasn't happening, I wouldn't be learning something. I wouldn't be getting a lesson today. I get to choose how I respond to what's happening to my dad. I study, I learn about how the brain works, I learn about coaching, I learn about all these things, but in reality, he says, I'm getting to work on me and my perceptions of what's happening. That's what's the important part, how I'm viewing it and the decisions I'm making, the choices I'm making. And I almost said, I couldn't because I was in a chaplain role, but I want to say, if you study the science of mind, because you're feeding back to me something that I probably need to hear right now. And that was how he was walking this part of his journey with his dad. I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought, you guys will be okay. And he goes, I'm writing a book. I said, you have my card. I want a copy of that book when it's done. And his mom said, see, people want to hear what you have to say. I said, I do. You have my card. You tell me when your book is written. I will buy a copy. And he's all smiles. Because he was shining the light in that moment. Plato says that we can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark, but the real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. I liked that quote. Reminded me of Reverend Josh, actually. Something he would have said. There's a Buddhist story called The Magnificent Strawberry. Anybody heard this story? We need to think about what your strawberry is as I share this story. It says, an honor student, frustrated with his life and with school, worried about what tomorrow may bring, approached his teacher to ask for some guidance. The teacher shared this story in response to the student's question. A Buddhist monk was walking through the mountains one day. Then out of nowhere, a tiger appears, chasing the monk towards the edge of a cliff. The monk, in his quest to escape the tiger, runs to the edge of the cliff and climbs over, where he sees 5 other tigers 15 feet below him waiting to eat him. So the monk is just hanging out. He's holding on to a vine on the side of the cliff, waiting there for the little chance that he has to escape or for his imminent demise. Then, as the monk hangs there exploring his options, he turns to the left and sees a strawberry. Wow, what a magnificent strawberry. So he picks it and he eats it. The end. Student is frustrated. He's like, I don't understand. That's the end of the story? But he says, no, those tigers are what's chasing him. What's chasing you in your world? Is it your fears of tomorrow? And the strawberry represents life and the importance to be alive in this moment. The purpose of a strawberry is to enjoy it one bite at a time, not to eat it as fast as you can. And that monk, even though no matter what was happening, he made the choice to enjoy that strawberry. In the story, they say the strawberry can represent anything that's important to you. Could be a hobby, could be a career, it could be a person, it could be anything that is important to you. But are we paying attention to the tigers that are chasing us? Whether those are our endless to-do lists, the things that are happening in our world, in our personal world, and the world at large. Is it the fears that we have that may never come to fruition, but we put all of our attention on them? Or are we paying attention to the strawberry? Would anybody like to share what your strawberry might be? And if you don't, I'm going to encourage you to meditate on it and pray on it this year, the rest of this year, to see what it is that you want to focus on in 2020. Connections with people. Mm-hmm. Painting. Yeah. Forgiveness. Yes. Poetry. Music. Mm-hmm. Animals. Yeah. Chocolate. Yes, chocolate. Definitely. Nature. Dancing. Remember to dance.
My 10-pound chewini.
Your 10-pound chewini. What's a chewini?
Part chihuahua, part dachshund.
Oh, how cute. Oh, that is cute. Yes. Singing. Yeah. I love to write. And I love to play board games. Sequence is my favorite. I always lose, but I have fun playing. And that's the beauty of it. It's the connections we make with one another. That's the light. That's the miracle of light, the connections we're making with each other. Are we cultivating those connections, or are we afraid to? I have a friend of mine, we've only known each other for, maybe 6 weeks now or so. And I love talking with him, and he works nights. This week, I think he has 4 12s, 2 8s, and a 4-hour shift. He's working a lot of hours this week for the holidays. But he works nights so that he can see his kids during the day. He's a single dad. And we were talking one day, and I said, "You always find time." He goes, "I work nights so I can see my kids." And they go to Disneyland quite often, his son's favorite place. And he says, "That's where I bond with him, and we get lots of exercise." And he reminded me of the human connection and the choices that he's making in his world, and he's pretty amazing. And what he reminds me of is the light that we are, and it's showing up through the work he does and through how he's choosing to live his life. And I think that's the important thing when we think about it. When we look at the tigers or the strawberries or the fear or whatever we want to call it, the truth is we get to choose. Another part of the Frozen movie is water has memory, and we're made a lot of water. We remember. Go see the film. Or read my articles when I write them, because I'll be focusing a lot on them. But the truth of the matter is when we come here to church on Sundays, we come for the connection. We come from the heart-to-heart connection. I forgot the line in your song about falling. What was that line in the beginning? Don't worry, you won't fall. Someone will catch you. If you're falling, somebody will catch you, whether it's through prayer, through a hug, or through their presence. That's why we're here. That's the amazing occurrence, is the love that's here. I'm going to invite us to close in prayer. Absolutely recognizing and knowing that right here, right now, right where we are is the divine presence. It is the life that we are having, because the divine expresses in, through, and as each and every one of us. One of my favorite sayings is, if I'm feeling separated from God, who moved? It wasn't the divine. I step into that higher truth of light, of love, of peace, of wholeness, and I recognize that truth. The miracle of light is the God light within us. I invite us to shine it brightly this year with one another. Shine it brightly in laughter and joy, or in sadness and tears, whatever is coming up for you right now, because that is the expression that you are having at this moment. As I recognize and know the divine is expressing itself, I am grateful. Grateful for our spiritual community, grateful for every faith tradition around our globe. Because I know in our own hearts, within our teachings, we wrap our arms around each and every one, sending our light and our love out into the world through our presence. As I am thankful for this time this morning, as I am thankful for the music, for the words of Sylvia this morning, for the meditation, I am grateful for each and every one of you. Grateful for Reverend Michael and Reverend Nicole, knowing they are wrapped in our love as they return home today. As I say thank you, I release my word into the law where I already know it is done. I let it be, and so it is. Thank you for being here.